We'll work on it.
Okay.
All right, the next part of our meeting is visitor statements, and I know we have a great crowd out here tonight. Anybody want to speak tonight? All right, seeing none, let's move to the consent agenda. All right, on the consent agenda, we have payment of bills and approval of minutes.
We had some questions on the bills. Tim?
There were some questions regarding the bills. One was that the first set of bills that we sent out was rather short. It was only $110,000. The final number came in at $520,000. The reason for the variation in the dollar amount was that we didn't have the earmark bill on the first set, and we didn't have the Blue Cross bill. Those two bills total about $300,000, which makes up the majority of that difference between $110,000 and $520,000. And this time of the year, it's when our office was closed for a while, people were off. When they come back, there isn't a lot of time to get the bills in for that first preliminary report to go out, which is why there was a difference in the number of bills, the number of pages between the two reports. So it was kind of a function of the holiday season. Some of the specific bills that were questioned, there was a bill in there for DOS Evaluation Group, which was $880. That was a company that we brought in at the recommendation of Franzik and Radlick to, they did an appraisal of the Riverside Golf Club. And the total bill was $1,000. The North Riverside Library paid for part of that, but that was a valuation for that so that they could use that valuation in their fight with them on the property tax appeal. There was a bill in there for Human Kinetics, which is a computer-based program that we use to monitor the fitness of students in the PE department. There was a question regarding tenant sales and service. That had to do with some repairs on some equipment, primarily a walk-behind scrubber. And I was working with Joel today to try and look at the Airmark contract and see where exactly that fit in. He tried to get a hold of John, who's his supervisor, because Joel's fairly new. It's going to take a little bit for us to kind of figure that out. And what I'll do is when Joel and I get the answer on that, I'll get back to all of you on that.
But on that one, if it has to be their payment, we can back out that day with three bills.
Yes. There was a question on Anderson Environmental. That was air quality testing that was done related to the sewer problem, and we are tracking those expenses and capturing those expenses. Joel and I are going to contact the people at McHugh and the people at 2010 Engineering with regard to getting a refund for all of the expenses we've had related to that sewer venting problem. Another one that Joel started looking into today was a question regarding some bills for Arrigo and the repairs on the pumps and that type of thing. That's another item that I'm going to have to get back to you with more of the details on.
I think since we have a new director, buildings and grounds director, I think we need to look at when we do stuff like with the pump and everything, the first question to ask is it construction related? Is it new construction related, and is it warranty covered? And if it isn't warranty covered, should it have warranty? Like we had upstairs with the pool, and then also down.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll talk to Joel and see if we can't get together on these kinds of things ahead of time and discuss them and see exactly how they should be processed. There was a question regarding Gale Group. That's a database that's used for research by our students and our teachers. New Horizons is actually technical classes that Mike Connors goes to, basically training him on Microsoft. He pays for a certain number of classes ahead of time, and that's what those payments were for. Peoria Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. We have 6 students and 4 teachers going down to Peoria for the Illinois Music Education Association. There's an all-state tournament that the students have been invited to, and from my understanding is there's also workshops during the course of the weekend that the teachers go to. That's $656 was a payment for a deposit on the hotel rooms for that tournament and that function. Illinois State Police, $500 for fingerprinting. We pay the Illinois State Police for fingerprinting ahead of time, and then as they they fingerprint our new hires and people we're going to put on the payroll. They just deduct off of that. When we get down to zero, we just pay them another $500 and they just deduct off of that. The Des Plaines Valley region, there was a $920 payment. That had to do with the Perkins grant. It was actually the reimbursement for that was submitted twice, and we received the reimbursement twice, so we had to pay back one of the reimbursements. Gordon Food Service was supplies for our food and nutrition classes, and Allied Waste, that's our normal dumpster service and rental of the dumpster that we have.
Okay, any other questions on bills?
I have a question on
What page?
handwritten, page 23. Second one down, it's the gymnastic official. Is that our age group, or is that just our, are we in gymnastic season?
Yes. Gymnastics season.
In gymnastics.
Yeah, this is,
Yes.
these are the officials that were in gymnastics season, so this is the officials that we pay to,
Oh, that's high
for
school.
the events.
Any other questions on bills?
Tim, I think maybe I forgot to ask. Did somebody do an accounting for like these basketball tournaments of all the cost and income and whether they break even or they cost us money or not?
Pam, does Art do that?
I think, yeah, Art had created a document with that. I don't
Do
know
they
if that
show it
wasn't
to you?
shared.
These are-
Yeah,
Have
we
you
can,
seen?
I think these are, though, I think what Mr. Walsh is asking about, these are different from like the summer tournament, where they pay for that out of their account, but then they,
I mean, we hosted tournaments at Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, do those make money, cost money, break even? Do we do some kind of accounting so we even know?
yeah, he does that. We can get you a copy of
Well,
that.
It was part of the athletic breakdown he gave us
Yeah.
on, with tournaments.
Well,
and
now,
budgets.
No, he
now
gave
that
us
the
a budget.
actuals come in, so we can
Right.
see how the actual comes in, and
I will write that down, because I do understand what you're saying. This isn't like summer where they're covering the cost of Airmark working it, or
right.
the utilities
Right.
and stuff. This is being treated like an IHSA event. So where are the gate receipts going, where are they
right.
going?
Yeah.
If it's costing us, if we can close down for 2 weeks, or go skeleton crew for 2 weeks, is there a cost savings there in our budget reductions compared to hosting those tournaments? Okay, I can check on that.
All right, any other things on the bills?
Yeah, I've got, this is a bill, sort of a general question. On
What
page
page?
10, the very top, it's like suburban electric service. I guess my general question is, when we need something done here, how do we know we're getting a fair price for it? That's number one. Number two, would we necessarily give preference if we had a choice to someone that's in district?
You sound like a guy building.
Well, I'd have to talk to Joel. I mean, I'm sure when Dennis was here, I mean, he knew vendors.
So
who could do-
Dennis would make this decision, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's
He
in
he
charge
would
of
know
director
the
of
vendors
building and
that who could do this type of
But
work.
do we, how do we know that?
It's the best price.
I mean, we had a little talk about that today in my facilities meeting with me, Tim, and Joel, as we were working on our relationship with a new, but one of the issues with that is that the Director of Building and Grounds accesses the budgeted amount of our supply and repairs and services account. Obviously, all those are approved by the business manager, and we meet on a weekly basis. But we do not have the manpower right now to go and say, hey, what are the best five, what are the 5 best service providers on HVAC right now, and are we getting the best deal of the 5?
So he has to control
He
his
does all
budget.
that.
Yeah, all right. So he'll-
Aramark handles all that for us. That's part of their management fee.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, but John, that, and we're gonna have it on the agenda later on, explaining how we choose our vendors and budget. We talked about that, Kevin, for a future meeting. I would extend John's thought a little bit different, or maybe he was saying, say it different to him, is there's no incentive for Aramark to keep the costs down. They just pass it to us.
Correct.
So I think what John's question is, you know, again, whether it's 6 months from now, or should we not only look at them, but maybe do a RFP for like electrical service or whatever? What's your rates and what's your markup to, for your cost on supplies, and choose a vendor that one and make them our preferred vendor? Is that kind of, that's what you're
Yeah.
kind of going at, right, John?
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll put that on for our cow meeting to talk about. And we can look at what other schools are doing.
It's something we could definitely talk about. I think we would start with facility and finance.
Yeah.
To both talk about those right now. Because right now, as we talked about priorities of what we're doing and the priorities going forward, we would probably need to bring on some additional help, at least for, maybe it's a special project, short
Why
period of time.
why couldn't he do that? Not, I mean, if it's not emergency and we got a time frame, why can't he now go out and petition a preferred electrical contractor, a preferred HVAC
And have us-
contractor, and do it now, come back to you and the board and say, I bid out and I got 5 back and here are the 5, and you know, and then say this is the preferred vendor, so he goes to that vendor on a.
Yeah, we could do that. I could ask and see if that's part of their, sure.
Do we have a policy or procedure that we require a certain amount of bids for any job over a certain amount?
$25,000 has to be bid over publicly. Usually what I've used in the past is anything over 10,000. We would at least do bids or at least 3 quotes.
And some of this stuff can't wait. So you would have a preferred vendor who
Right.
would go and be called for repairs. All right, anything else on bills?
I had one, I think Tim sent early the question about Airmark. And was that answered?
The one at tenant
The
sales and
tenant.
that, I'm looking into that with Joel. When I get the answer, I'll get the answer back to all.
The way the
We
agreement's
just-
written, it's pretty difficult to determine whether that was our expense or their expense, but
So Tim, you're
Tim's
looking
looking
into
at
that,
it.
appreciate
Yes.
it. All right,
But then also, with that part, they're gonna pick up certain expenses, right? Like mops and disposable things, or,
that was
That's not-
one of the things that was clarified in the amendment. That was, do we execute that amendment, Kevin?
Yeah, we don't have clarified in there though batteries for this equipment. That's what we're trying to work out.
okay.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay, oh, because there's a big group here too, and I wasn't sure.
That was
Okay.
not
Okay.
under the same part of the agreement.
Okay.
okay, any more on bills? Now, on minutes, we received some amended minutes with some changes. Those were sent to you via email. Any questions on those?
Did that include, Trish, 17 was stipend?
Wait, what are you talking about? We're talking about minutes.
On the minutes, yeah.
So what meeting are you talking
page?
about?
8166.
'Cause
It's
it
a real
wasn't-
bargain at 275.
There was an
It's
error,
actually
we caught it
supposed to be.
later.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah, I
that would
just,
be
I
a
don't.
That
know
would be on a different-
different meeting is when we corrected it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Any other questions, any concerns,
Housekeeping.
changes on the minutes?
The-
Revised minutes that were given?
When are those given? Not in the packet?
Those were not
They're in the packet.
No, they're in the package.
They're in the packet.
So we're approving the ones that came in the
Yeah.
envelope?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
The,
there-
go ahead.
I think I sent, on page 8167,
67, okay.
the, I had put a note in there, Mary Ann, that should come out to the final minutes, because you answered the question. It's in brackets next to Mr., under Resolution 12-726. It says, Mr. Grisham moved the following, and I
Okay.
remember we talked about it at the meeting.
So delete the bracket.
Just delete the bracketed note.
Okay. Marianne, you got that? Anything else on the minutes?
I just have one.
What date?
What page?
It's page 8169, it's the Tuesday, December 20th.
Okay.
It just seems to read odd. It looks like, in the front page, it looks like Tim is absent for the whole meeting. But actually, you got there like a minute after we approved going into closed session, but it never talks, I mean, there's a little parenthesis that you
Didn't
got there
say
at
you
6:32,
appeared.
but it never, it just says, the following were absent, Mr. Walsh, but it probably should say you were late, or, I mean, you weren't absent for the whole meeting.
He was absent for the vote.
For
Was
the
absent
vote,
for the
right,
vote.
Okay, so it just seems,
When I first read it, that I thought the same thing, but if
Oh,
you
but
look at
the
it
board
in the
members-
whole, it does,
okay.
it is correct.
All right, any other questions on this?
Okay.
Do I have a motion, please?
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, hereby takes the following action on the listed consent agenda items. A, approves payment of bills as presented and listed in section Roman numeral 6A. And B, approves minutes from the meetings held on December 8, 13, and 20, 2011, both open and closed.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Tim Walsh.
With the amendment, Mike, that we just talked about.
I assumed that we would have that changed when I read this.
So with the amendment, with that bracket, please. All right, any comments? All right, Marion?
Mr. Gritchen?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Dr. Cooney?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Aye.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes.